According to the Sumerian tablets, the Anunnaki are beings often interpreted as gods and also fallen angels that were involved in the creation of the heavens, earth, and humanity. Zecharia Sitchin's interpretation states that these gods were not deities but physical, technologically advanced beings from a planet called Nibiru. They are described as being much taller than modern humans, with long lifespans, and are believed to have come to Earth. The Anunnaki are considered descendants of Anu, the Sky Father, with prominent leaders like Enki and Enlil. The Anunnaki have been described in several different ways. Most commonly, they are depicted as tall, bearded men. However, they sometimes are interpreted to have been crocodile, like in nature or with reptilian features. As satisfying of a twist that would be, it is more likely that the Anunnaki and the reptilians are two different species. It is known that the reptilian species is capable of shape-shifting. Their mimicry can go beyond humans, certainly.
Bloodline, if there is one, of the reptilians is clearly different than that was left by the Anunnaki. I want to read something to the audience and to you. Quote, "In the form of man, moved they amongst us, but only to sight were they as our men, serpent-headed when the glamour was lifted, but appearing to man as men among men. Crept they into the councils, taking forms that were like unto men, slaying by their arts the chiefs of the kingdoms, taking their form and ruling over man. Only by magic could they be discovered. Only by sound could their faces be seen. Sought they from the kingdom of shadows to destroy man and rule in his place." Emerald Tablet of Thoth.
Many proponents of the reptilian theory suggest that these beings are actually shapeshifters and can change their form at will. This would explain why there are different depictions of them throughout history and sheds light on how their presence among us proves so elusive. The Anunnaki came to Earth for gold because their own planet was out of balance and needed it. Their motivation was self-serving rather than to help humanity.
According to modern interpretations of the myths concerning the Anunnaki, the Igigi were slaves or servants of the Anunnaki masters. They were tasked with challenging or back-breaking tasks, such as mining gold and building structures on Earth, very often in harsh conditions. Among the most notable Igigi stories is their rebellion against the harsh working conditions imposed by the Anunnaki in their quest for gold on Earth. This uprising led to a bitter war, and the Igigi were once again subjugated. This narrative is often tied to humanity's creation, implying that humans were formed to replace the Igigi in labor roles, since men would be simpler and easier to dominate and shape.
There is a colloquial mitochondrial Eve theory that scientists first presented in the early 1980s. By 1987, a publication by scientists Kahn, Stoneking, and Wilson revealed that the matrilineal source of our common DNA lineage dates back between 140 and 200,000 years ago. They referred to a common matrilineal mitochondrial line, a common root for all humans. What's so interesting here, and why this research has relevance to this part of the story, is that the first collective person happened to come from the same exact time frame and valley that humans were mining gold in.
Post-flood civilization. The survivors of the flood emerge and eventually establish civilizations. The influence of the Anunnaki continues, with certain individuals holding both power and a direct bloodline to the Anunnaki. Babylonian Empire and royal families. Powerful royal families with Anunnaki heritage rise to prominence, wielding control over empires such as Babylon. The tradition of bloodline-based rule is established, with power passed down through generations. Manipulation of history. The ruling elite use their influence to orchestrate major historical events, including wars and colonialism.
Nibiruans developed a high civilization. They had come from the Lyrian group and the Pleiadian group, and they had wars, and it all ended in a great big North-South war. They had a terrible, terrible war. Most of the men were sterile or killed. The survivors had a truce, and they gave Nibiru a king who was a military dictator. And the North and South had a lottery. North won, a king named An, A-N, ruled by decree. He appointed people to govern. This was a military dictatorship, and that's why the model on Earth is military dictatorship.
A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
Is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind.
Reptilians arrived on Earth a few thousand years ago, infiltrating societies and becoming the last group to dominate and enslave others, establishing Earth as their stronghold. They use advanced technology to disguise themselves as humans or other beings, such as Nordics, rather than possessing true shape-shifting abilities. Their violations include breaking treaties, kidnapping, murdering, trafficking children, harvesting adrenochrome from children's blood, and cannibalism. They are also accused of controlling global leaders, politicians, and influencers, operating from underground tunnels, and instigating wars to literally feed on fear, gain wealth, and secure resources. Reptilians are tied to the downfall of ancient civilizations like Egypt, Rome, Tartaria, Atlantis, and Lemuria. Physically, they are described as having armor-like bodies, yellowish or blue blood, forked tongues, and vulnerabilities such as their armpits and genitals. Reptilians and other off-planet beings came to Earth and used their abilities and technology to enslave people. These groups made treaties and agreements with human military or cabal forces. The core of these deals was the trade of humans for technology. They are portrayed as physical entities when operating in this reality, despite being dimensional beings from higher realms with souls as their energetic essence. They are flesh-eating reptilian beings that consume human flesh, particularly targeting children. Encounters with them are described as tangible, with accounts of fighting, dismembering, and even witnessing decapitated reptilians in their natural form, as well as physically apprehending them. Reptilians are also said to infiltrate human bodies, acting as energetic beings or drones that possess individuals, effectively controlling them like puppets. In such cases, they can sometimes be extracted from the host. King Smarty, also known as Sanunda Galactic, Yeshua, or the Messiah, Jesus Christ, is fighting the cosmic battle you have likely been hearing about against these malevolent forces like the Reptilians and certain Anunnaki, aiming to restore Earth and humanity. Some Anunnaki, described as ancient beings akin to angels, are assisting humanity. However, King Smarty eliminated those who resisted change or clung to harmful ways a few years ago. He notes that some former adversaries, like certain Egyptian figures tied to the Anunnaki, are reforming out of fear of his power to evaporate them. Hostile Anunnaki are being hunted and removed from Earth.
We're piecing things together on this end, but it seems to know everything about us. So it's controlling reality on a much deeper level. It's controlling actual reality, not just how we perceive it, what we think we're seeing, like actual reality. People that are learning more and more about them, they're starting to question their own reality. Their ability to manipulate reality, time, and space is so good that we wouldn't know what they've changed. We would not be privy to even understanding how or what they have changed. So, it is something that these military intelligence people are having to wrestle with. They prefer to talk about the other aliens. I think they're calling them the architects here and there, but it is it has a lot of them creeped out, and they're having a hard time wrapping their mind around it.
Reptilians are key orchestrators of Earth's negative events. For example, the soul trap. This is a system used to confine human consciousness on Earth, preventing souls from returning to their divine origin. This mechanism enforced an unnatural form of reincarnation, distinctly removed from the Creator's design. For thousands of years, dark entities intercepted souls, forcibly returning them to new bodies while erasing memories and instilling a belief in servitude. This system, tied to underground operations harvesting children and energies, blocked spiritual ascension and access to higher realms. Central to the soul trap were black cubes, devices that connected to human consciousness, anchoring people to a low vibrational state. These cubes had to be neutralized before broader liberation efforts could proceed. However, the soul trap has been completely dismantled. King Smarty and his team destroyed all the black cubes, ensuring their elimination. The forced reincarnation cycle, described as the last cycle, is over. Souls now have freedom after death, with options to either return to Earth via crystalline chambers or go back to their cosmic origins, understanding the true nature of incarnation. The dark forces behind the soul trap face severe consequences. They are being eradicated, with their souls facing permanent elimination, transformation into inanimate objects in a place called Pebble Valley, or eternal confinement in the ethers to witness humanity's victory over them. This marks the end of their reincarnation and influence, confirming the soul trap's collapse and a new era of spiritual freedom for humanity. The firmament was a significant barrier over Earth. About 2 billion years ago, after a war on Mars, Martians settled in Antarctica and erected a protective glass dome over the entire Earth district, separating it from the rest of the much larger globe, which is much larger than we have been told. This dome was intended as a safe haven for the planet. Despite its protective purpose, reptilian forces infiltrated the dome, turning it into a stronghold. They used advanced technology, including portals, to enter and exit, enslaving humanity. These extraterrestrial entities could teleport bases into mountains, manipulate reality, and open portals, leveraging technology far beyond Earth's capabilities. The glass dome posed challenges for light-aligned beings, like angels, who were often trapped by mechanisms such as special mist or smoke. However, King Smarty could bypass these barriers, freely entering and exiting Earth even before the dome's removal, justified by the reptilians' violation of galactic treaties. King Smarty accessed underground bases by opening gates that military and galactic forces could not, neutralizing threats to allow others entry. In 2017, King Smarty dismantled the glass dome over a month, neutralizing or evaporating it. A new energetic dome replaced it, functioning as a protective force field. This dome operates like a mosquito trap, allowing passage only for those with the correct energy signature and approval from source. Mechanical attempts, like rockets, fail explosively against it, with the old dome's trapping mechanisms gone, access open for light forces. Teleportation and portals, facilitated by King Smarty under Source's guidance, are now the primary means of entry and exit. Angels and galactic allies can freely appear, while Source and these forces guard the energetic dome to prevent dark entities from escaping. Under the guidance of Source, King Smarty leads efforts to dismantle their influence through elimination. He and his team actively remove reptilians, Draco, vampires, fallen angels, and demonic entities. Since 2016, they've destroyed entire fleets of hostile extraterrestrial and demonic forces, including the reptilian queen-breeding soldiers on another planet. Key Draco figures like Satan and Lucifer were prioritized and eliminated. King Smarty targets underground tunnels used for child trafficking, cloning, and experiments, disrupting the reptilian cabal and their adrenochrome supply chains. He counters their control systems like false belief structures and exposes their schemes. Leading galactic and angelic armadas, he engages in multidimensional battles, destroying reptilian technology and supporting allies like Russia, which uses advanced anti-reptilian tech. His forces, including light brigades, target threats across the universe. He reveals the reptilian influence behind global issues, normalizing discussions about extraterrestrials and exposing their control over politicians and influencers. This full disclosure is amplified through his actions and media. King Smarty works to further restore Earth's original bloodlines, eliminate borders, and create a unified kingdom. He releases hidden technologies like the crystalline chambers and replicators and raises human consciousness to see reality clearly, guiding people toward light and truth. As the commander-in-chief of a galactic operation, King Smarty commands vast armies and civilizations. His abilities, granted by Source, include evaporating enemies with a mastery over frequency, immortality, portal jumping, remote viewing, and disrupting dark rituals. He can remove parasitic entities from humans and alter memories, wielding unmatched speed and precision in combat. It all sounds fantastical and crazy, and yet validation keeps showing up in a multitude of ways.